Hello, so in this video I'm going to show you how to move from your knowledge organiser to students actually learning it. I'm going to take you across to my PC, and I've looked at Robert Bjork, the Learning and Forgetting Lab. So he's the master in the field, and what we're going to focus in on is the testing effect, okay, which is going to give you much better memory and obviously retrieval. Those are the things we're looking at. So astonishingly, it turns out that if I teach my students what they need to know, they are very poor at remembering it. And what I'll try and do is teach it again. But the research says, no, don't do that. Never teach it again. Test it again. And students learn by being tested. So this is fundamental to what I'm going to ask you to do with your knowledge organiser. Let's zoom in on a section. So you want them to learn a manageable chunk, pick one section at a time. You can't just tell them to go off and learn it because they won't know what to do. And so we are going to show them exactly what we mean. So the easiest way to do that is to start with a show my homework test. So I'm just going to show you the quiz that I've just done based on Alex's knowledge organiser. I've taken the first section and turned it into a question. So that was about energy stored as chemicals, and I've just turned that into a question and moved through the section that way. The key thing is that you give enough options so that it's difficult for students to score well going at random. The next key thing is that you put in guesses which the students who aren't sure are likely to make. So you're looking for typical misconceptions. Apologies to any scientists, because obviously I don't know what the typical misconceptions are, so you might come up with better alternatives than me. The other tip to make learning helpful is that you have what you need in the question and then as little as possible in the answer, so students don't read too much. Now, what you can see is it's really quick for the students. They might just continue and go through and just randomly click and learn absolutely nothing. Well, there are some mechanisms which will help you. The first one is the instruction that you give the students. I always tell my students to do the quiz 3 times because that's how many times Show My Homework allows you to do it. And it records each attempt. Therefore, you can display those attempts to the whole class and make a big fuss of students who've improved. Yes, that might mean that some students deliberately put in a low score to start with, but the way to counter that is that they are ranked by final score as well, and many students in the class will get 100%. So your students will desperately try to be in that ranking rather than just at random click stuff and end up with a low score. And to begin the process, loads of them will do this. Yeah, they will just randomly click. But the public display of results is what's going to stop them doing that over time and make them focus on actually learning. So if I come across back to the knowledge organisers, you can see all these words in bold, and I want them to be able to start remembering this stuff word for word. So I take some of the words in bold and put them inside my quiz, and so the students have to remember the right combinations of word which go with that area of knowledge. Here you can see they've got to combine 4 types of transfer. So if I go back, that's got quite difficult here. Those are the 4 types of transfer, and I'm giving them a question on all 4 of these. But remember, there are only 10 questions in my quiz, so it's appropriate to really make the kids think. Tip when you're doing the quizzes, you've got to be really careful about how you name them because you want to be able to find them again when you use them. So hopefully you can see that this name has come straight from the knowledge organiser. Other parts of the knowledge organiser have different names. This is going to be crucial to finding these quizzes again to reuse them. Well, how do I find a quiz to reuse it? Well, I'm going to come across here and I'm just going to set homework, and then if I pull back you can see that I can pick on any of these. I'm just going to go to create quiz, but it doesn't have to be that button. I could have pressed on all of the other ones, because what I want is see all tasks. And when I click on that, it will show me every single task that has ever been set at Kingsdown School. Because I'm looking at quizzes, I'm going here to select type. I'll just pick on the quiz. Now, you might have a keyword, for example, I've got physics. So I'll type that in and see what happens. And there you go, there's only one physics test in there, it happens to be mine. But that's the easiest way for you to find resources that you've already made, but much easier because you might have 20 physics quizzes in the end. If you've given them all the right name, then it's much easier to use. And you can just click on reuse here, and then it will magically appear and you can set it for any class. Okay, well there are some other ways that you can get your students to practice learning the detail that doesn't involve you doing quizzes. So I'm just going to take this first one up here, chemical store, and show you some really easy ways of testing it. So here we go. The easiest way is going to be to look at a cloze exercise. Cloze, you just pick out words or letters that you get rid of. So you want to progress in terms of difficulty. So chemical store is energy stored as chemicals, weighting to, and then they have a choice of words to pick from. And the right one here is react. Stupid of me to put that first, but it's to illustrate. Then I can ask a different type, which is more difficult. So it's exactly the same, but I've got the first letter of the word and no options. They don't see any word that they can put in its place. They have to memorize it. Then you can build that up. Here I've taken chemical out. And so they've got to put in chemical and then react. You can obviously go further. You can take out as many words as you want progressively until you're confident that the students know exactly what terms should go in there. Really quick DNA activities. So amazingly, I didn't know this until I read Robert Bjork's stuff. If you place words into anagrams, this is called a desirable difficulty, and it makes the words more memorable. So here, energy is stored as, can you work out what that is? Chemicals waiting to react. And the brain has to think hard to unscramble the words, and it just simply makes them more memorable. Another way of doing it is just putting the first and last letter of each word. And then, of course, you can just do the first letters. Small words I put in bold so they can see they're not part of another word. And then you can move away from that finally and just get them to try and write the definition word for word. So those are really quick DNA activities that are easy to check and easy to do.